We Americans love our cheeseburger and fries. But have you ever wondered how they get the sesame seeds to stick to the bun?
Excellent.
Any idea how many tomatoes are in a bottle of ketchup?
Perfect.
And how do they get the dill and pickles anyway?
Whoa, who knew?
I'm Bobby Bogner, and I've been eating my whole life.
Unpleasant.
And you're not going to believe the amazing world behind every bite you take.
This is one big slice of cheese here.
Now, cheeseburger and fries on Food Tech. I'm here for an American classic, cheeseburger and fries. Last year, Americans ordered over 7 billion cheeseburgers and 8.5 billion orders of fries. That's 23 cheeseburgers for every man, woman, and child in America. Now, it might only take you a few minutes to eat one of these. Me, if I'm hungry, a minute, tops. But what's amazing is what goes into making these things. Did you ever wonder why the cheese melts so perfectly? That's not luck, it's science. And how about a factory that can put out over 36 million fries a day? Well, you're about to see what really goes into making a cheeseburger and fries. And it all starts with a trip to beef country. I've worked in nearly every aspect of the restaurant industry, but I gotta tell you, this is the first time that I've been penned up with something I might eat. So I'm out here in the middle of Illinois, and we're at a big feedlot here. Roger runs the feedlot, surrounded by about 700 head of cattle. Now, it's not just a bunch of cows, because that's a female that's already had a calf. These are steers and heifers, or the males and the females. So which ones of those are best for hamburger meat?
They're all good for hamburger.
Before the cattle were brought here, they were raised only on grass in the fields. But they're here for one reason and one reason only, and that's to fatten them up. This feed truck right here is giving each cow here over 40 pounds of feed a day. In the mid-1900s, beef cattle maxed out at about 800 pounds. Today, cattle that are fed exclusively grass end up at about 1,000 pounds. But in mainstream production, cattle like these receive a kind of super chow designed for rapid weight gain. And if you look at it, you can see what's in it. We've got corn, we've got distiller's grains, we've got grated hay, we've got all the stuff that's gonna get them nice and fat. They need to gain almost 3 or 4 pounds every day that they're here. For even more weight gain, farmers also administer hormones, which they tell me will be virtually undetectable when the beef hits the market. On average, the hormones help bring an additional 7% weight gain. So the cows come in between 600 pounds and 800 pounds, and then they leave here over 1,200 pounds, ready to go to be, what's the right word?
Harvested.
Harvested for our hamburgers. That's beef industry talk for slaughter. American slaughterhouses harvest more cattle than any in the world, nearly 37.5 million a year, about 70 a minute, and all of them have to be butchered. So I've come to Eichmann's Processing in Seward, Illinois to see how they make hamburger patties. And I'm happy to say that it's done under the scrutiny of the United States Department of Agriculture. I mean, this place is immaculate. That's because of author Upton Sinclair's 1906 book, The Jungle, which exposed the horrific conditions of American processing facilities, prompting the government and the industry to clean them up. So let the butchering begin. So we've split them, and now we're in the cooler where I get my handy-dandy hairnet. So we've got them hanging upside down here. You can see that the head would be down in this area right here. But up top, this is where you get your stew meats, and your meats need to be slow-cooked, the tougher cuts. And as we come down in here, we've got the leaner cuts that don't get as much muscle use, like your tenderloin, your ribeyes. And then this area right here is what we're focusing on today, because we need to get some burger meat. And this is the chuck. Traditionally, chuck has been the primary cut used for burgers. But today, trimmings from other cuts are used as well. Either way, fat brings it all together. It may clog your arteries, but fat is what makes a hamburger taste good. All right, so we're gonna split it right here. Oh, you're handing this to me like I'm gonna saw this. All right, lean up, good sharp saw. A cut here. Am I breaking any speed records, Chad? Another cut there. And before you know it, our chuck is ready for the grinder. This is a Big Daddy grinder here. And anything we put in this thing is gonna get ground up, so we gotta be real careful.
You can see how you got all the fat and all the meat. It's still kind of separate. We're going to run it through and grind it again so we can get the fat dispersed throughout the whole burger patty, because that's where you get the great flavor. But all that's left is forming it into patties.
And once that's done, we've found the beef for our burger. Now we need something to put it in. So I headed west to see how buns are made.
I'm here in Ontario, California at the Fresh Start Bakery. It's 185,000 square feet of fresh baked goodness. These guys make more hamburger buns than you can imagine. Over 1.5 million a day, 500 million a year. To get the whole story, we've got to go back to the beginning. And that means getting here first thing in the morning when the tanker trucks with the flour come in. Every day, we got how many trucks?
We got 3 to 4 truckloads coming a day, close to 200,000 pounds of flour. Come on up, Bob.
All right, let's see what's inside. Right now, this is flour. Tomorrow, it's going to be a hamburger bun.
You got that right.
All right, so how many buns is that going to make?
50,000 dozen.
50,000 dozen. How long from the time that it comes out of this truck till the time it's in a restaurant?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, fresh bread for you.
A closed pipe system transfers the flour inside, where it blends with yeast, oil, and water before it enters a fermentation tank.
Open that up, take a whiff of that.
All right. Whoa. That's pretty strong stuff. Wow, it smells like a brewery, like you really smell the fermentation.
That's what gives your bread that fermented taste.
So if it smells like beer, you can use it?
It's ready to go. That's where it gets
I live my life by that.
Next, workers add ingredients like salt and calcium.
Open that up there, Bobby.
Nutrient bin, right?
Hey, we're gonna dump salt in there.
All right, you're gonna let me toss this in there. You got to
Just dump it right in.
My shoulder
a little bit over your shoulder.
There you go. Well, that wasn't so hard.
Okay, now 11 more.
11 more?
11 more salt.
All right, salt, huh?
Here's the knife. Bob, we'll get somebody else to do the rest. That's a tape.
Then, after a giant mixer kneads it all into dough,
There you go.
it enters the production line.
This is where we're dividing all the dough pieces up. It's cutting it perfectly up every time.
It's going through these rollers, coming out on the other side, a perfect circle, a
Right.
perfect sphere. It's amazing. This is the coolest machine you've got, buddy, let me tell you.
The machine then dusts the dough balls with flour, presses them into the shape of a hamburger patty, and drops them into nonstick pans.
Wow, and look at this. The precision is so amazing. Every time they come out, they fall right into place. Now, we got this one right in here. Are you going to be able to fix that?
That one's going to be fixed by this pan shaker here.
All right, let's see what happens
center
here.
the dough piece. See that?
There you go. So automatically, everything ends up right in the center where it needs to
Right.
be before it gets heat.
Right.
Really impressive.
The dough patties pass into the 110-degree proofer,
So let's look inside here.
where for the next hour, the yeast activates and the dough rises. Meanwhile, just around the bend, workers prepare to crown the patties with sesame seeds.
Well, where do we get these from?
Guatemala.
And they're really good for you.
Pound bag.
These little seeds are so packed with minerals and vitamins that Roman soldiers ate them for strength and energy.
What are we doing?
Here we're sifting to make sure there ain't no stems or anything in it.
I'm gonna taste a little bit here. Yeah, it tastes really good and clean, but you really get the flavor of sesame seeds after they've been toasted, right?
Right.
Because you get the release of that sesame oil,
Right.
which makes all the difference. Really sets apart a great bun from just a good one.
Right.
Ah, but first, we have to plant the seed.
We're at a critical juncture here in the life of a hamburger bun, right? Where
Yeah.
it's about to be seeded. And I've always wondered what kept the sesame seeds on, if it was magic or glue or... Does it have anything to do with this water spray we got right here?
Yeah, you're exactly right. If you look over here, we put a thin fan spray of water mist on the bun.
So the water and the flour come together as a little bit of a glue, so these seeds can stick to it.
Right.
Now that the buns are seeded, time to heat them up on the other side of this stainless steel wall.
Big oven.
The big boy, the big daddy oven here, this is a gas oven. Oh. Woo! All right, we can close that up. Boy. And then when the
That's
bun...
about a 410 degrees in there.
How long?
9 minutes.
Okay, so these buns are ready to go. Are we looking for like a golden brown color here?
Foxy red.
Foxy red, I like it.
Look at that. Beautiful, foxy red bun.
Picture perfect there.
Right.
Picture perfect. I'm gonna bust one open here. Woo! Ow! Hot! Nothing like fresh baked bread. And the seeds are all toasted now, so you really get that flavor coming through on them. Excellent.
Beautiful.
Excellent. Can't wait to put a burger in there.
The piping hot buns are on the fast track, high above the plant floor toward the spiral cooler. For 30 minutes, the buns slowly descend, air cooling along the way. After the spiral cooler releases the buns, the conveyor carries them to the slicers, where one quick cut turns them into hamburger buns. But they still have to pass the toast test in quality control.
And another test we do is the toasting. We want to make sure we got the right color, the right crunch, so that we get that great toasted flavor with every hamburger bun.
This looks great. If it holds a good toast, then it's going to be able to really cradle that burger, the condiments, going to hold it all together. So we've got the bun, we've got the beef.
Now it's time for some cheese. But not any cheese will do. We need one that will melt just right on top of our beef patty. And that takes some pretty bizarre looking machinery, along with some chemical assistance. A cheeseburger and fries, an iconic American meal. We're breaking it down and putting it back together. So far, we've found the beef and built the bun.
Foxy red, look at that.
Now it's time for some perfectly melting cheese. But most cheeses break apart into a runny fat when they're heated. The key to a great melt is using good old processed American cheese. You know, that sliced cheese that comes in a plastic wrapper. So let's see how processed cheese is made. A process that starts with 500-pound blocks of real cheese at a place like Associated Milk Producers in Portage, Wisconsin.
Smells like cheese.
That's right. That's what it should smell.
We have a master cheese blender that puts together all the different ages and types of cheese to come up with a consistent product.
The master blender uses a combination of cheddar and Colby cheese.
What's interesting, most people don't realize that cheese being made from white milk comes out in white colors. But yet, the American people are accustomed to having colored cheese. Henceforth, color is added.
An industrial mixer grinds the cheeses together. Then, for more creaminess and flavor, workers add blocks of concentrated milk fat, which is even fattier than butter. This is also where emulsifiers, like sodium citrate, enter the mix. While the pasteurization process kills any potential pathogens, the melted cheese has given me a hankering for nachos and a beer.
Oh yeah, it looks like it's near ready to go here.
Look at the elasticity that I have in that cheese.
You can tell it's got this beautiful sheen and great texture for melting on our burger. Let's give it a try. A+, man.
Before anyone else can taste it, this bizarre-looking device shapes and cools the cheese on a stainless steel belt with water and refrigerant circulating around it.
Now this is one big slice of cheese here. Wow. So we're getting that hot cheese down to about what temperature?
We want to take it from 165 degrees to around 50 degrees.
How cool is that? So it's being pushed out on each of those 4 tubes.
That's right.
In a separate line and then flattened out here, extruded in a flat sheet. That is awesome. Well, this is way too big for any burger we're gonna make. So I guess we're gonna head on down to the slicing area.
The giant cheese slab is slit into 20 individual ribbons.
Now these are starting to look like some slices.
A quick slice, and America's most popular cheese is ready for packaging.
Take a look at this. Look at the body that we have in that cheese. Look at the flexibility.
Good gloss.
You can pull it, you can stretch it without it breaking. Now let's fold it in half. Look at it.
How about taste?
Now let's taste it.
I love that flavor. Makes you think of home, you know, when your mom would make you grilled cheese sandwiches, or at 4th of July barbecues when you had that burger on the grill. Slap one of these on there, let it melt down.
So what about that meltability?
Super important for us right now with the cheeseburger. Meltability. So natural cheddar here.
This is the natural
Processed
cheddar.
here.
And this is the processed cheese.
Alrighty.
I popped inside the lab where they actually test these kinds of things.
Flavor's only part of the battle. The melt is really important with what we're doing here,
Very
right?
important. If it melts too much, it'll actually fall right off the burger. So we want to have enough melt, but not too much. Okay, now we'll remove the cheese from the oven.
All right. So you can see here on the natural cheese how the oil is all separating from the cheese. The processed cheese is melted and spread out. Now imagine your burger underneath that one. In the lab, we've proven that the natural cheese is not at all what we need for the burger. This processed American, that's where it's at.
Perfectly melting cheese? Check. Time to get pickled.
Cucumber and vine? Who knew?
The good folks here at Mount Olive Pickle Factory in North Carolina, that's who. And this is where our pickle tale begins. In a 50-foot-long truck.
How many bushels have we got in this truck?
There's probably over 1,000 in
Over
this truck.
1,000 bushels of cucumbers ready to go. Fresh from the fields.
The easiest way to get the cucumbers out of the truck is to float them out. Once I've filled the truck with enough water, I can release them for their journey to become pickles.
And here they come. There's still a bunch of cucumbers here that haven't come out yet. So this thing is going to shoot water out at a really high velocity, and we'll be able to clean out the truck. What do you call this thing?
We call it the gunner.
The gunner. Here we go. All right.
Hold
It's
on.
warming up. Hold on. Oh, God. All right, here we go. Oh, there you go. And I should aim it down. We're going to try and float the rest of them out.
That's correct. You got to build up some water in there.
After a cleansing rinse in a water bath, workers crate and move the cucumbers to the tank farm, where they make their way to 9,500-gallon vats.
We're coming up to the tank farm here, where all of the cucumbers are brined and they become pickles. Look at this. It's a whole city of these tanks. All right, let's bring in those cucumbers.
Not much has changed since cucumbers were first pickled more than 4,000 years ago in Mesopotamia. And someone, like me, still has to even them out in the vats.
You know, it's going to turn into relish if I keep stepping on them like this.
Then, a guy with better balance places boards on top to hold the cucumbers down for the next step, adding a saltwater brine until it covers the cucumbers.
I get the feeling it doesn't taste very good. Yeah, like a mouthful of seawater.
For the next 7 days, the cucumbers ferment as sugars break down into lactic acid, which along with the salt preserves the cucumbers. And that's what pickling is all about. For the next week to 9 months, the salt-laden cucumbers sit in vats and await the next step in the process.
Process sign, what does that mean?
It means that we have taken out a lot of the salty water and put fresh water back in order that we could get the salt level down to something that would be...
Palatable?
Yes.
Right, because I just tasted some of the real salty ones. All right, do you mind if I just dig in there and...
Help yourself.
All right. How far down am I going to go? Oh, much more. Oh, there. All right, let's see here. Unpleasant. Unpleasant.
Very salty, bland.
No, not bland. Not bland
Unpleasant.
at all. Very salty. And it has none of that, like, spicy dill flavor that I'm looking for.
And it won't until it gets into the packing room.
So it's off to the packing room.
Let's get these pickles out of the brine. I see that's what we're doing over here.
The cucumbers are on the move again, this time through the final wash.
Whoa! We're getting a bath too here.
Inside the factory, a slicer cuts the cucumbers into chips, which dance over a vibrating table to these eagle-eyed inspectors.
What are you ladies doing over here?
What we're doing over here, we're grading out the little chips that got holes in it, the chips that are too long, and chips that got the end pieces.
Because they've got to be the perfect chip. Like, that's no good.
Like a perfect round chip.
Something like that, right? So that's what you're doing by hand. So I'm going to put this down here if it's no good.
Put it right there.
Oh, there's two more. Now look, we put them down here. What are we going to do with these?
That's our relish.
Going to turn into relish. That makes sense. You ever tried these pickles?
Yes, I have.
And what do you think?
Well, I like different kinds. I've tried the chips, and they're pretty good. I'm not a cucumber eater or pickle eater, but I do like some. I like the hamburger dill and the dill.
The hamburger dill? Well, that's what we like. That's what we're looking for. The best ones for the burger.
The good chips continue on through the factory until they fall into glass jars.
That's correct, Bobby. The empty jars are coming in on this side. We're filling them up with chips and vibrating them down.
But it looks like we're overfilling them. What do we do about that?
Even with all this high-tech machinery, it's still up to humans to pound the chips into jars.
You come here often?
All snug and tidy, the chips shuttle down the line to the ingredients that give pickles their flavor.
Secret ingredient is water, vinegar, salt, and dill flavoring.
The dill flavoring comes from dill weed oil, which in the Middle Ages was believed to have magical properties and was widely used as an aphrodisiac.
You want to try some?
Yeah. Can I drink it right out of the glass?
Right out of the jar.
Bottoms up. Let's get pickled. Not something I want to drink every day, but I can really taste the dill and the garlic.
And finally, the pickled cucumbers are capped, pasteurized, and sealed in plastic.
This part is really cool. They're putting a shrink wrap band on the top so that you know it's fresh. But before it goes in there, it's got one last chance to kick it out. Let me just show you what it'll do. So if it doesn't have the shrink wrap, it'll automatically just shoot it out. I'll do one more. Isn't that cool?
In about a week, the seasonings soak in, and what were once cucumbers can now be called hamburger dill chips.
This is the moment we've waited for all day. After trying the pickles in the brine, trying them in the water, now I get to taste the good stuff. Oh, it tastes great. The vinegar and the dill are perfectly balanced. It's nice and crisp, and it's gonna be great on our cheeseburger.
So will some lettuce, and you won't believe the system that's in place to get it to you 72 hours after harvest. I feel the need for speed, because when it comes to lettuce on a cheeseburger, crisp is king. And when it comes to crisp, iceberg lettuce stands alone. Because iceberg lettuce is 90% water, its biggest enemies are evaporation and wilting. That means getting it from farm to cheeseburger within 72 hours. So when the iceberg is ready, the clock starts ticking, and harvesters spring into action with just their hands and a special knife.
So we've got this pretty snazzy instrument that these guys are using like samurai. They do 5, 6, 7 heads a minute sometimes. And in just a few hours, this is gonna be in the plant. A few hours after that, it's gonna be on your table. Now, I'm gonna give it a shot here and try if you don't mind.
Sure.
Huh? And I'm gonna be real careful. So I'm gonna go slow on the first one or two, okay?
Right.
So I'm gonna reach down, I'm gonna reach around the big leg and kind of chop
Cut it off at the base.
At the base, okay?
There you go.
Now, did I kind of leave too many of the big leaves on there?
Yeah, you did,
All
but
right.
that's okay. And kind of use that as a holder.
Okay.
And you're gonna wanna remove those outer wrapper leaves.
Okay.
To get any of the defects off, any extra soil off. There you go.
Okay.
Then you're gonna wanna take that core out.
Like that?
There you go.
The nice thing about this knife is, you know, when we're cutting it off, the long end gets into the dirt. But when we're using the coring end, that means none of the dirt ever gets inside of it. Let me see if I can keep up with these guys for a little while without slowing them down. You know, this is no cakewalk. I've only been out here a few minutes and I'm already feeling it in my back and in my legs. Tough guys here. Slow down, you're making me look bad, buddy. With iceberg lettuce especially, it's more about the texture than the flavor even, right?
That's right. You want that crisp taste. And I'll tell you, there's nothing better than tasting a head of lettuce that's just been freshly harvested. If you open it up, it's crisp, and break it open, you can really taste the freshness.
Man, you don't need to do anything else but get it to the store, right?
That's right, fresh from the field.
Perfect. Well, we got to get going because we got a lot more lettuce to pick.
At the other side of the conveyor, a water and light chlorine rinse cleans the lettuce. This lettuce then falls into specially lined bins to keep it cool during travel to the aptly named Fresh Express processing plant.
So the iceberg lettuce has been unloaded off the trucks and loaded into this contraption. This is called a vacuum cooler. And without the application of any cold at all, it sucks the heat right out of the icebergs. It brings it down to below 40 degrees Fahrenheit in less than 30 minutes. When it comes out of here, we take it right into the plant and get it ready for processing.
But before I enter the plant, it's time for another hairnet and lab coat. Then a quick stroll through the hand and foot sanitizing wash.
So this iceberg lettuce is just coming in from the field. It's been chilled and cored, and it's ready to start being processed, right?
Correct. This tag on the bin tells me this product was harvested yesterday, delivered today, ready to be processed here through our bin dumpers.
And speed is of the essence when it comes to iceberg.
It is. Cut to cool in 4 hours, delivered to the plant, processed within 48.
Full head lettuce is simply packaged and sent to market. For those of us who like shredded lettuce on our burgers, a conveyor hustles the heads through a series of chutes and into the shredder.
Iceberg lettuce is just flying in here. There's a big circular blade spinning really fast, and the lettuce is getting shot through that blade at monster speed.
Then it's bath time as the cut lettuce enters the agitation flume.
The water's just potable water from the city with a combination of food-grade chlorine and food-grade citric acid.
You know, that chlorine and the citric acid are completely fine. They're safe to eat. All they're there to do is keep the water clean while it's washing off any leftover dirt that may still be on the lettuce from the fields.
The rush to market continues as the lettuce cascades toward the final steps. A hoist then lifts and lowers the bin into the dryer. After a 1-minute tumble, the now dry lettuce is portioned, bagged, and boxed.
The lettuce that was in these boxes entered the plant less than 30 minutes ago. They're about to be loaded on trucks and sent out to retail stores and restaurants.
Within hours, refrigerated trucks will transport the lettuce to restaurants and grocery stores. And we've got another layer on our cheeseburger. Time to sink our teeth into our next item, the onion. I love my job. Now I understand why the ancient Egyptians believed the onion's odor could restore the breath of the dead.
Woo! All right, I'm done with this one. This is a yellow, sweet Spanish onion, and it's one of the oldest vegetables known to mankind. It's grown in huge fields, just like this one. The sulfur content is what makes the flavor so great on burgers. It's going to hold up to a lot of toppings. But the real story behind this onion is how it's grown. It starts with a little tiny black seed about the size of a ballpoint pen.
On onion seed plants, the onion itself isn't important, only the seeds. To find some of those seed plants, I traveled to Parma, Idaho, and this is where I ended up.
I'm in a huge field surrounded by 800,000 umbels.
Umbels are these umbrella-shaped flower clusters, and within each one are about 1,000 onion seeds. The field is laid out like a prom dance. Boys on one side, girls on the other. And that buzz in the air? That's the sound of the matchmakers.
We rely on honeybees to take the pollen from the male lines and transfer it to the female lines to pollinate or produce the seed.
Okay, I'm never one to shirk away from the danger of being around vicious animals. You can see that this honeybee is actually grabbing the pollen off of the male. And if he's doing his job right, he's going to fly over to the female plants and cross-pollinate between the two. And then in 2 short years, we'll have onion seeds. 1,000 seeds per flower times 800,000 flowers. You do the math.
That's a lot of seeds.
That's a lot of seeds.
That's 800 million onion seeds. And with each seed producing 1 onion bulb, that's more than 2 onions for every person in America in this field alone.
So what are we going to do with these umbels once they're ready to go?
Well, we're going to cut them off right under the umbel.
Right at the top, yeah?
Once the tops are cut, someone has to extract the seeds from all the other stuff. That's where the Newman Seed Company comes in.
So once the seeds have been dried, after coming out of the field, they come into the plant looking like this. Tell me what we've got here.
This is what we refer to as dirt seed. It means it comes in from the field with a lot of different plant parts. There's stems, there's florets, there's some dirt from the field, and trash, basically.
And the good seed are these little black dots that you see there.
That's right.
And when we get through this, we're only going to get about 25 or 30% yield of seed out of all of this, 700 pounds. All right, well, let's get started here. Here's one. I missed one. All right, there's one.
We got a ways to go.
Yeah, we're going to be here a while,
We're
right?
going to be here a while.
How about we use this big machine back here
That's
and figure out
a great
how
idea.
Okay.
First, the forklift guy dumps the seeds and extra stuff into a hopper, which drops them into elevator cups. An air screen cleaner separates the seeds from the larger plant parts. What's left moves to the slanted gravity deck.
So it's like modern day gold mining up here. We've got air shooting up from the bottom as well as it's shaking. And I see that all of the florets and trash is coming down to the bottom, but we're getting the good stuff right down the middle. And then the heavier stuff like rocks and sticks go all the way up and are out of the...
But they're still not completely clean. The good seeds at the bottom have to pass their final audition in front of an infrared camera.
This machine is pretty cool. It's going to sort out the perfectly black seeds that are ready for customers from anything else that's left in the bin. Let's open this thing up.
It's got to take a picture of every seed that comes through there. And if it's anything that's discolored, it's going to shoot it out.
In the front and the back, we've got some digital cameras here. And what they're doing is as the seeds fly down, they're picking up colors. Machine set to the perfect black for fresh onion seeds. And every time one comes down that isn't the right color, there's little burst of air right down here that's going to shoot it off, and it's going to be out of there. So at the bottom of this contraption is going to be a bin full of perfectly black seeds that are all ready to go. Am I right?
That's right.
Raining black onion seeds here. This is perfect, huh, Stacy?
This is what we're going after.
Remember that each one of these seeds makes a single onion. So every single one of these is one whole onion.
After harvest, one lucky yellow onion will end up on our cheeseburger, which is now complete. But there's still some spuds to pick and some fries to make. So why does that put me in a room that's 20 degrees below zero? What's the #1 food item ordered in America? French fries. They account for nearly 14% of all menu items and are available in 57% of America's restaurants. And of course, no cheeseburger would be complete without some. The most popular spud for making fries is the russet. It's big and it holds up in hot oil, and its thick skin allows French fry companies to store them for up to a year in controlled conditions. But first, they have to be pulled from the earth.
I'm here in Washington State, and as far as the eye can see, nothing but potatoes. Of course, there's no way I can go around digging these up out of the ground by hand.
Fortunately, there's a quicker way.
So this thing is digging under the soil and lifting the whole plant out.
Yes. Then we have chains that are in timing sequence to get rid of the soil and collect the potatoes and bring them up to the return elevator and load them onto our truck.
This potato right here was just in the ground 20 seconds ago.
Absolutely.
It's ready to go be cleaned, and then we're going to head to the plant and make some fries, right?
Absolutely.
In California and Florida, potatoes are grown and harvested year-round. But in colder climates, the key is to get potatoes out of the ground before the winter frost. Prior to arriving at the plant, the spuds go to a staging area where rocks, vines, and other debris are removed from the harvest.
That clanging you're hearing in there is the rocks that are coming up. It's exactly the kind of thing we're looking for. You don't want a big rock. After this, they're taken up on this conveyor belt and automatically loaded into that big semi-trailer back there. We're one step closer to having our French fries.
Potatoes are 80% water and they float. So once they're inside the Lamb Weston plant, they're dumped into a water flume where they drift through an initial cleaning area. From there, they sail along until they fall into a heap.
Look at this, a mountain of potatoes. And this is just one of several here at the plant. They're already washed, but they're coming down in water, being floated through the factory to get to the next step. That way they won't bruise. Now they're clean, but they've still got their clothes on. So let's go peel them.
Peeling just one potato is hard enough. Peeling over 5 million a day requires some ingenuity.
These potatoes aren't peeled the regular way with a veggie peeler or a knife. They're hit with a big blast of steam, which makes the water right underneath the skin boil and bubble up, so it's able to just be kind of rubbed and washed off. And that's what you see coming through this line right here.
Here, workers eyeball the naked spuds for any stray vines, residue, or dark spots before they're sent to the cutter. Unfortunately, the proprietary potato police won't let us see what happens inside, but I'm sure I can get some info out of them.
So Jim, when the potato comes up to this point, it's whole, right?
That's right.
And when it leaves here, it's cut into a French fry, right?
Yes.
So what's going on right in here?
Inside here is the grid of knives, kind of crisscross blades. Potatoes come shooting down here, propelled by high pressure water. They hit that not.
Can you show me what's over here?
I'm afraid not.
So you'll just have to understand that the magic is all happening right in here.
For this batch, the top secret machine cuts the potatoes into the classic French julienne style. In total, Lamb Weston offers 20 different shaped cuts to their customers. Now, the French and the Belgians both lay claim to inventing the French fry, but no one really knows for sure. Call me crazy, I'm going with the French.
You can see it's got a perfect 1/4 inch cut. It'll shrink a little when it cooks, huh?
Right.
All right, the water then takes it down through this little aqueduct, and it's taking it onto the shaker. What's that doing?
Shaker table's taking out the short little pieces that don't quite make French fry length.
So if it doesn't look perfect like this one, it'll shake out. Maybe it'll become a hash brown or something.
Exactly.
And then it's headed up into that huge machine. What is that?
That's our blancher.
Inside the blancher, boiling water quickly heats the potatoes, which are then shocked with cold water to stop the cooking process.
You know, blanching the potatoes does a couple of things. Number one, it deactivates the enzymes that are inside the potato so that it gets all nice and fluffy. It also gets a lot of the starch out, and that helps get you a golden brown outside when it's frying.
That happens in the frying area, and it's downright scorching.
I am dying of heat. How hot is this thing going?
The oil's running over 350 degrees.
So I bet they're sizzling. I'm gonna take a look down in there if you don't mind. They're just dropping in. Now, what kind of oils have we got in there?
We're using a blend of 0 gram trans fat oil.
So that's great. It's healthier than it's probably been in the past,
Right.
huh? Well, that's what's called par cooking, right? Partially cooking it,
frying, yeah.
and then getting it ready to be frozen so it can be recooked later on.
Exactly.
Perfect, man. Boy, let's get out of here.
1 minute after they enter the fryer, the potatoes emerge at the other end as French fries. And each day, 36 million of them will make the journey.
Look at these golden brown fries. They've been in the oil for a little over a minute at 350 degrees. They're headed up this, and they're headed into the blast chiller so they can get nice and cold for freezing, so that when you get them at home or we get them at a restaurant, it only takes a little while to get them ready for you. Oh, it's hot, but pretty darn good.
And finally, a very cold blast freezer flash freezes the fries for 15 minutes. America's most popular food item is now just a hot oil bath away from becoming the quintessential side dish for our cheeseburger.
After the cutting, and the blanching, and the par frying, and now the final fry, it's ready to eat. It's delicious. It's got a crispy outside, a fluffy inside that came from blanching where we deactivated the enzymes, and it is the perfect fry. You know what'd be nice though? Some ketchup.
That requires some tomatoes, and a company that knows how to get 20 of them into a 24-ounce bottle. Underneath this bed of safe but mildly toxic leaves is the world's most popular fruit, the tomato. Actually, it's in the berry family. But regardless of how it's classified, a nice thick slice is great on a cheeseburger. It also makes great ketchup. There's just one challenge: how to get about 20 tomatoes inside a 24-ounce ketchup bottle. The process starts at harvest time from July to October.
This tomato harvester is quite a piece of machinery, huh?
Yes, it is.
I see it going up and down individual rows here of the tomato vine. Tell me exactly what this thing's doing.
It's got a sickle on the bottom which cuts the tomato vine right below, about 1 inch below the soil surface. So you got all the vines and all the tomatoes going up this chain. At the top it goes into a shaker. The shaker shakes the vines, tomatoes loose from the vine. The vines go out the back of the machine. Tomatoes come through here.
By the time the tomatoes ride the conveyor to the huge tubs for transport to the plant, most of the rocks, vines, dirt clods, and green tomatoes need to be gone from the mix.
We got this cool machine here that's going to help us sort that out. Can you tell me how it works?
Yes, tomato machines are equipped with 2 different kinds of optics. They have dirt sorters, which we're looking at here. Further back, they have color sorters. This set of rejectors, or the optics here, can tell the difference between red tomatoes, green tomatoes, and dirt clods.
So I'm going to grab a red tomato and a green tomato, and I'm going to roll them off the end. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so the red one got shot right back into the conveyor for further processing, and the green one hit the ground. That's pretty cool. Why is it so important that we get rid of all that stuff that's not tomatoes?
Because the cannery only wants tomatoes, plus the grower gets deducted. If we send dirt up there, 1% dirt, the cannery takes 3% of our paid load away from it.
So you lose money if you're not just sending the best tomatoes through.
That's correct.
So are we worried at all about the ones on the bottom here getting kind of crushed?
Not really. The cannery tomatoes are bred with a really thick wall, so there won't be that many of them crushed. And like what few get crushed, they're making them into ketchup anyway.
After harvest, trucks take the tomatoes to a ketchup factory, like Del Monte in Hanford, California. Here, they process over 1 billion pounds of tomatoes a year.
This one tub by itself is about 12.5 tons. And how many of these bins do we get in a day?
Well, we run anywhere from 200 to 300 loads a day, just depending on the time of the season.
So it's lots and lots of tomatoes.
Lots of tomatoes.
The tomatoes are getting washed out of the bin and up onto this amazing elevator. It's just this beautiful red elevator now.
At the top, the tomatoes fall into a water flume where they ride inside the factory for one last debris check.
These workers are pulling out any roots that shouldn't have gotten in this far. But say goodbye to the whole tomato, because it's going to the grinder.
A heating tank softens the tomatoes for easy seed and skin removal. Then, a series of pipes thrust the chopped tomatoes through an extractor.
There's a screen just like this inside this machine. The juice comes inside and is forced out, so that the juice goes to further concentration.
And the only thing left is the skins and the seeds.
Yeah,
right?
they're coming out right here, as you can see.
It's called Thomas, right?
Thomas, that's correct. Actually, Bobby, that's used for animal feed.
All right.
Later, a truck will take the byproducts to an animal feed lot. Meanwhile, the tomato juice moves into the evaporators.
Incoming tomatoes come in with about 95% water. We're reducing that down to about 15% tomato sauce, so we have a lot of water to take out with these machines.
It concentrates the flavor, it makes a thicker product, and all of that is happening in this huge structure.
The last stop is the secret ingredient room, where workers add the final spices that turn what is now puree into ketchup.
So this is ketchup.
This is ketchup.
So we've taken the tomato puree, we've put it in here, it's been agitated with our mix of spices. I want to give it a try.
Okay, let's try them.
Oh, and it's still warm. Oh, I get a really great vinegar sweetness. That sweet-sour combination, it's terrific. And let me tell you, it makes me want to eat ketchup warm in the future.
The only thing left to do is load up a small sample of ketchup for a slide down the viscosity test ramp. That's right, the viscosity test ramp.
Well, we add the ketchup to this chamber right here.
We're going to fill it up to the very top.
Fill it to the very top.
Even if you make a mess, that's okay.
Make a mess. Okay, now Bobby, now push that.
All right. And what are we testing for?
We're testing for the flow.
She means the ketchup has to travel a certain distance in a certain amount of time, both of which are closely guarded secrets. Wait for it.
Oh, that's a nice thick ketchup. Does this look good?
It's perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Most of us like our ketchup thick, but when commercial ketchup production began in the mid-1800s, it was watery and thin, mainly because manufacturers used unripe tomatoes. Less than 4 hours after the tomatoes entered the plant, they end up inside a ketchup bottle. And there you have it. One quick squirt, and our cheeseburger and french fry meal is ready to eat.
Well, I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it myself. You know, all the hardworking people and the cool machinery and the hairnets. Needless to say, I'll never look at a cheeseburger and fries the same way again. But after all that, how does it taste? Oh, it's great. I'm Bobby Bogner.
And this is Food Tech.